welcome back to The Word Now. I'm happy to be with you. We're really coming to the end of our sessions now, at least on this theme. In the future, I will be very available to go into other themes, certainly at the request of others, because there's a lot of biblical truth we can discuss. So we are down to session number 51. Session 51. I guess the question for this would be, what is the New Jerusalem? What is the New Jerusalem? So before we focus in upon that, let's talk a little bit of chronology, where we are. So we have finished Daniel's 70th week, the time of Jacob's trouble. That's the Great Tribulation. We've had the Armageddon. We've had the Parousia, the appearing of Jesus Christ, the Epiphaneo, the coming forth in brightness. We've had the judgments. We've had the millennium, the administration of Christ upon the earth, which is also the second advent, accompanied by the many parties, including the apostles and the church and the different ones that are named. Now we come to the next phase. If you remember, the end of that millennium, which was 1,000 years, and that is delineated at least 5 times in the scriptures to be 1,000 years. There was a final rebellion, which is beyond thinking actually, but even after a millennium of God's presence upon the earth, still man turns against his creator. And again, this just reveals that the problem isn't man's bad situation or that he didn't have an opportunity, but the problem is man's bad heart, and that he made choices to rebel against the authority of the creator and the person of the creator. And this has always been the problem. Man can, in his deception, can blame his situation, his circumstance. He can enter his self-pity party, but in the end, it comes down to the simple choices that he makes in his heart to come under the authority of God, which really practically means recognizing the person of Jesus Christ, because he's the visible manifestation of God. He came to the earth. Recognizing the status of Jesus Christ, God's Son, walked on the earth as the person of Nazareth, and also the work of Jesus Christ and its redeeming value and my need for it. So these choices are born out of humility, which recognizes God as God and man as man. And that's really what it is. Because actually the other aspect I want to mention is that, either God is God or I'm trying to be my own little God. Just like the devil. The devil knows that God is God, but he wants to be a God. He wants to be the authority on the sides of the north and on the thrones. And it's the same with man. Either God is God or I want to be my own God. And this is it. And we'll talk about those 2 train tracks. Actually, I'll be writing a new book following these sessions in the next months called The Great Rebellion. The Great Rebellion. So please look out for that in, I don't know how long it will take, a few months, I would imagine. Okay, the New Jerusalem. So here we are. So what is the New Jerusalem? Well, firstly, it's something that's in Scripture. So the main passage concerning this reality is Revelation chapter 21. So what is the New Jerusalem? It's a scriptural entity. It's something from the Bible. It's not made up. It's not alien. It's something the Bible tells us. So a whole chapter going into quite intimate descriptions of this reality called the New Jerusalem. What else is it? It's a temporary dwelling. We see in the scripture that between the millennium and the final outcome in terms of what God has shown us, there's a period of time, and there needs to be a place for the redeemed of the ages, which includes the redeemed of the Old Testament and the patriarchs and the remnant of Israel and also the church. They need a place to be housed, a dwelling place. And it seems that the New Jerusalem is a temporary dwelling place. because it seems for a period of time that men will not be able to dwell upon the earth. So it's a temporary dwelling place, which in many ways is synonymous with heaven. I mean, in terms of its character and its presence, it's got the same character of heaven. And what else is it? It's unique in its description. So Revelation 21, I'll start reading. I'd like you to read the whole chapter yourself. You can look at some of the points there. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, John, saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven. So it comes out of heaven, and it's a city, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people. And God himself shall be with them, and be their God. And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain. What an amazing place to think of. This is the ultimate destiny of the redeemed. This is where born again people will go. This is our destiny, to a place of no pain. You know, people have that question, why doesn't God stop all the pain now, stop all the suffering, intervene for this and that situation? Because God's agenda now, God's focus is redemption. But it doesn't mean that he won't provide a place with no pain. No pain, no wheelchairs, no cripples, no Down syndrome people, no mentally ill. There will be perfect people in a perfect place without imperfection. What an amazing thing. And you can read that whole passage. Basically, it's a city. It's 1,500 miles square, I think it is, 1,500 miles. So I've always been struck by this. We're given the dimensions, and even so, whether it's, I think it's around 1,500 miles square. What has always struck me is how small that is. How can all the redeemed of the ages, from the creation of man, from the Garden of Eden till now, how can they fit in this limited area? And my conclusion is that not many really get saved. That at the end, in the final assessment, not many really were redeemed. Many were religious, many went to church, many had a confession, but to actually turn to God in a real humility and be regenerated, maybe there weren't that many. Why do I say that? Because they're fitting in this small city. And this is from millennia of human existence. The redeemed can all fit into one city. So it's quite a thing to think about. What can I say about the redeemed? It's a temporary dwelling place. It's suspended above the earth, possibly above that high mountain where Israel will be housed at the top of the mountain. The primacy of Israel is high up now. Maybe there are clouds. Maybe it's not clearly visible. Maybe mist and it's obscured by the environment there. But it will be this place literally hovering above the earth for God's people to dwell in. It will have new things, and people will have a new name, a new heaven, a new earth, a new song, the new Jerusalem, a new covenant with God's people. No more sea, no more curse, no more death, no more crying, nor pain, nor war, separation, no devil, no human temple, no night. And this is an amazing thing here. Psalm 102 verse 14. Hebrews 12:23. The spirits of just men made perfect, dwelling in this place. Isaiah 4:3, Psalm 87. What an amazing thing. It's square. We see that its streets are of gold and precious stones like those on the breastplate of the high priest. Those stones said that Israel belonged to God, and so these precious stones say that these people belong to God. They are the redeemed of the ages. It has gates of pearl, verse 21, thinking of the pearl of great price, where God's people will now be. The Lamb will be in the center. Jesus Christ's presence will pervade this place. We've only ever known the presence of God down here where there's demonic activity, where we're in, carnal flesh. And even here we sense the presence of God. But imagine the presence of God, the presence of His love, His peace, fellowship with Him. It will be so awesome, this place. No temple, no religion, just grace. There will be a river and a tree of life for healing. And all that are there are by grace. What else can we say? What will life be like in the New Jerusalem? Sometimes we wonder what it will be like. And we talk about heaven, but really heaven isn't the most important thing, because actually men won't dwell eternally in heaven. Men will dwell eternally upon the earth. And that sounds strange, but this is what God says. But nonetheless, they will dwell temporarily in this New Jerusalem. And in many ways, this is what we could call heaven, because it has the characteristics of heaven. And we wonder, what will we be doing? Will we be floating on clouds? Will we be in church all day worshipping Jesus? We have all these ideas, but I just want to paint a little picture here. I really go into this in my book, Apocalypsis. And I go in much more detail, intelligent detail of life in the New Jerusalem. Well, it will be a place of religion, not false religion, but it will be a place where the name of Jesus Christ will be on everybody's lips, where we will be worshipping the true God, thanking Him for our breath and just enjoying Him. An amazing place of worship. It will be a place of joy. Imagine no more pain, no suffering, no tears. Just joy, not just joy because of the goodness of life, but joy because of being united with our Creator, that the spiritual union is complete. We have our physical body, but there'll be no barrier now. There'll be no carnal barrier. We won't have an old sin nature. We will be in Romans 8:21, in Philippians 3:21, we'll have our redeemed bodies with no sin, and that communion will be unbroken. That communion, that flow of life will be from God to man, and there will be that deep nearness, which will be amazing. So there'll be joy. We'll be creative and intellectual. God made man with certain faculties, certain skills. He gave him a brain and ability to create. Even on the earth, we paint pictures, we make music, we create buildings, we write stories and great literature. We have intellectual capacity to work out maths problems and abstract problems and to build great inventions and to go into space. And the point is that God's given man all these abilities, not temporarily. They will always exist. They are integral as part of man. And in the New Jerusalem, we'll still be creative. Who knows the exact form? I'm sure we'll still be painting pictures. I'm sure we'll still be making music. Why not? We'll be intellectual. I'm sure there'll be great academic problems we'll be working out. And who knows the wisdom that we'll be exposed to in terms of our new experience, in terms of the realities of God and of life with Him. Our intellectual capacity may be greatly expanded, but the point is we're not going to become angels or just, we're going to be human. All that it means to be human in this perfect place, the New Jerusalem. We'll be social. God made us to be social. He made, even in the beginning, in terms of marriage, He said it's not good that a man be alone. So marriage was on the agenda. Not that we have to get married, but it was a good option. And I think most people will end up getting married. It's a great blessing. But not just in marriage social, but in our family units, in our societies, and in our communities. We relate one to another. We play games. We have conversations. We have competitions in sports. We chat together. We laugh together. Man will still be social in the New Jerusalem. I'm sure there'll be cafes of drinking, who knows what it will be, and I'm sure there'll be coffee up there or who knows what. But the point is, we will be social. We didn't stop being human. We will be, in fact, in many ways, more human than we've ever been, because we've never really known what it's like to be human. Even on the earth, we've only known the broken model. We were born broken in terms of our sinful nature and our broken identity, But now we're entering into being perfect. So in many ways, for the first time, because we're not even on the earth now, we're not surrounded by people with altered natures, we're in a perfect place. Remember Hebrews 12:23, the spirits of just men made perfect. In many ways, for the first time, we'll be experiencing the perfection of being a human being. Our intellectual capacity, our creative capacity, I'm sure it will be enhanced. We'll be superhumans in some ways. We'll be active. We have a physical body. We have muscles. I'm sure we'll be running and doing sport and exercising, and we'll be active in our projects. We'll be building buildings. We'll be active in many ways. We don't stop being human. We become more human in that sense. And of course, we'll be familial. And in as much as we'll be like the angels, we don't procreate now. And that's a whole aspect of our existence that's hard to grasp, because the relationship between a man and a woman and all that entails has been a big part of human life. Firstly, it's been a necessity because we need to have children. Secondly, it's been an enjoyment because there's enjoyment between a man and a woman. We were physically designed to be together, and then we were psychologically and emotionally designed to be together. And sex is part of it, and human relationships are part of it. So to think that aspect of our existence will be gone, will be like the angels, is hard to us to imagine. But all we can say is that our joy will be complete. That maybe our physical intimacy in that sense will be limited, and in that sense, family units will be somewhat different. We won't be having children of our own, but the family will be the whole group that we live with, the whole people, all of the people in the New Jerusalem are one great family now. And all I know is that we will lack nothing. Nothing in our psyche, nothing physically. Whatever the differences are in terms of life up there, presumably having a deeper relationship with angels as well, and of course I'm sure we'll have some deeper interaction with the angels. Whatever the details of that life will be, whether it's spiritual, religious, physical, intellectual, psychological, all those aspects, we can say this: it will be perfect. We will lack nothing. God's presence will pervade all in our spiritual communion. And this will be the place where the redeemed dwell for the period of time that God has allowed that to be. And we'll talk about that next time. It may be millennia. It may be just somehow a short period of time, maybe hundreds of years. I don't know. But we will be there. It will be perfect. We are the redeemed. That will be the redeemed of the Old Testament, the redeemed of Israel, the redeemed, the patriarchs, Jacob and Isaac, and those in the Old Testament, and then the Apostle Paul and Peter and James and John, the apostles, the church, the remnant, the remnant of the Great Tribulation. All that suffering will be a forgotten memory in the light of the perfection of our new life, our new existence, our new reality, our new experience with God and in this perfect place. All right, so this is the New Jerusalem. Please read Revelation 21. And the city had no need of the sun, neither of the moon to shine in it, for the glory of God did lighten it, and the Lamb is the light thereof. And the nations of them which are saved shall walk in the light of it, and the kings of the earth to bring their glory and honour unto it. And the gates of it shall not be shut at all by day, for there shall be no night there. And they shall bring the glory and honour of the nations unto it. So at least while it's dwelling over the earth, presumably it's, for part of that millennium, I'm sure there'll be a movement between the earth and the New Jerusalem. But later on, I think we will be sealed within that place for a period of time. All right, so this is Pastor Mark Goody, closing session 51. Is there a New Jerusalem? And the answer is yes. You can read about it in Revelation chapter 21. So wherever you are on this green planet, if you are redeemed today, you'll be in this beautiful place we've described. If you're not redeemed, then what's to stop you? There's no reason to not get saved. You would be lacking intelligence if you didn't get saved. Why not? The only barrier to salvation is the pride of men's heart, their proud choice to not believe. So if we can humble ourselves enough and believe, we can be redeemed, we can be in the New Jerusalem. We can be in God's program and for eternity with Him. All right, God bless you. This is Pastor Mark Goody closing session 51. Thank you.